The one question that created the most clarity in my life. I have about 10 minutes. Let me share it with you. So, there is one question that I ask myself again and again and again and again that clarifies and simplifies everything for me. And that question is, if I keep living exactly like this, where will I end up? And that means using your imagination to project out what your habits that you currently embody, what your practices that you currently embody, what your relationships that you're currently involved in, what your money habits are like. If I keep living in these habits 6 months from now, where do I end up? A year from now, where do I end up? 3 years from now, where do I end up? If I make no changes. And the reason I love this question is because I used to be the woman who would write down the same goals for myself every single year. Quite honestly, it got really boring because I realized I didn't want to spend my whole life losing weight. You know, I didn't want to spend my whole life dating people and trying to find a relationship. I was like, I want my life story to be bigger than that, right? I want to be able to create the relationship with my body that allows me to stay healthy and fit all the time. I want to create a relationship with myself where I feel worthy and confident no matter what my relationship status is, no matter how my business is doing, no matter what's going on in the world, right? And I really was determined to figure this thing out. And one of the ways that helps me get so clear when I feel foggy, because I'm human. So there are times when I feel foggy. There are times when I'm like, I'm not sure what the next step is to take. I'm not sure what my next chapter is going to be like. Or there's also times where there's something that I really want to do and I feel like I know the next step and the next step feels terrifying. And this question helps me to understand both one, if I don't know what the next step is, to get a better idea of what that next step could be, or the question helps me to take the next step if I know what it is and I feel resistance to it or I feel nervous about it, because this question helps me identify, like, if I don't take this next step, right? If I don't change my habits, if I don't change my practices, if I don't reorient my relationship with myself or my relationships in my life, then where will I be? And many times the answer to this question is that you'll be living this life at a greater scale. And sometimes there are things that come up as I review my life that, like, it makes sense for me to not let them go. It makes sense. I'm like, okay, if I make no changes to how I am eating or how I am providing my nutrition to myself and how I'm exercising, then in 6 months, I will absolutely be at my goal, or I'll probably be past my goal, right? And that's the thing that can be so refreshing about asking ourselves this process, like once a quarter or maybe even once a month if you have a super specific goal, because it can be so helpful to refine how we look at our practices, how we look at our habits, and being able to look at them from a very responsible place rather than a reactive place. And we can start to bring in our creativity and bring in our support so that we can redesign the things that need to be redesigned. And the secondary question to this first question, the first question is, if I keep living exactly like this, where will I end up? The secondary question that I use with this one is, I go through my habits, my relationships, my practices, and I ask myself, is it effective? Like, is it working? Is it taking me on a journey closer to the woman I say I want to be, the woman I say that I am, and the goals that I've set for myself? And those are very simple yes or no questions. Like recently, my husband and I made the decision to stop drinking alcohol. And we've done this before. Like, this is not a new thing for us. We've gone extended periods of times without drinking alcohol, and then we brought it back in. And this time we were like, look, we're complete with it. We're really focused on other things. And part of the reason for that is as a result of, this question of, if I keep living exactly like this, where will I end up? And it's not that we were on a trajectory that was negative with alcohol, but the thing that we realized is like, well, maybe if we let the alcohol go and we don't have that as a distraction in our life, and we don't have to recover from it, right? Because I don't know about you, but for me, recovering from drinking takes me longer than it used to in my early 20s. So if I'm not using the energy and the time for my body to recover, then I can apply that energy and that time to things that actually move me closer towards my goal, right? Like if I spent the night out drinking, then in the morning, I'm not really going to feel like getting up and going for my run, right? Or I'm going to feel a little sluggish in the morning, which means that my morning isn't maximized. It doesn't necessarily mean that there was a problem in the evening when we were drinking. We probably had a fun time, like we're both pretty happy, jolly drinkers. But it does mean that we feel the effects of it the next morning. And if I have a goal to run, you know, 13 half marathons in the next year, then it's really beneficial for me to be able to get up and be ready for the day, and to use that morning time if I can, to either get some extra sleep if I need it for recovery, or to get up and get my run in before, the rest of the house is up, which is really ideal for me because I don't like to miss a whole lot of time with my family. So I like to get the runs out of the way in the morning. And so that's an example of, it might not be so, especially as you get on track towards your goals, and especially as you get clear about who you are, and especially as you become more aware and you get more confident about shifting your habits and, you know, really being in ownership that you are the creator of your life. This question becomes such a point of refinement more so than an opportunity for drastic changes, right? They become these, like our mentor says, 2-3 millimeter shifts rather than total life overhauls. Now, believe me, I've had my series of total life overhauls. Okay. I have been there in the total life overhaul, and it's a thing. And sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes you got to do it, because it is that drastic of a change that you are creating for yourself and your identity. But once you get that foundation laid, now it's about, okay, what are these smaller shifts that I get to make to optimize where I'm going, and more so how I use my time. And that's the thing that's really been present for my husband and I as of late, is that we've really been looking at, okay, we want to maximize our time and how we use it, because we've become so aware of how limited it is, right? We've become so attuned to the fact that time is the non-renewable resource here, and so we can't really buy more of it. We can't go, it is the one thing that's like out of our control in terms of how much we get of it, and how the only thing that we can control with time is how we leverage the time that we have right now and while we have it. So that's something that has inspired my husband and I to start asking ourselves this question. If I make no changes in my life, if nothing changes, where will I end up? And it's been so inspiring for me to ask myself this question, because it's been clarifying in terms of like what I really care about, what I'm really invested in, what I'm really committed to, why I'm committed to it, and then keeping me committed to it, because, motivation is a pretty unreliable thing, she's pretty flighty. And so when I can remind myself of like, oh yeah, it's not just getting this workout in for today or getting this recording done for today because it needs to be done today. It's about the fact that I am working towards creating something that's developed over time, and like today's run is a 3 mile run or something like that. But I need to get it done today because in October I'll run 26.2. And this 3 mile run today is a deposit in the bucket for the 26.2 prep that I will do in October. And so, if I spend today skipping the run and then skipping the run and then skipping the run, all I'm doing is setting myself up for a more challenging experience. And that's the clarity that a question like this creates, is the question of, If I make no changes, if I keep living exactly like this, where will I end up? That's question number one. And then question number two is it effective? You know, because sometimes if you ask yourself this question, your mind might try to play tricks on you. You ask yourself, if I keep living exactly like this, where will I end up? Well, all of us have blind spots. So some of you might be a little bit like me, where your brain tries to hide things from you or sugarcoats them or diminishes their significance. And so if you don't have total clarity on a habit, you're like, well, I'm not sure about that one. Then the follow-up question is it effective? Is it effective for me to continue to do this? And that one right there almost always has a 98% chance of bringing more clarity into your decision as to whether you continue to move in that way or as to whether you let it go, So I'm sharing this because this is something from my personal little toolbox of how to stay clear and how to stay motivated and how to make sure that you are using your time here on planet Earth in a way that feels really aligned to you, and so that you're not like me, where you spend 5 years of your life writing down the same goals over and over and over again and feeling like you're making no progress, because progress is here for you if you want it. So I love you. Let me know how it goes. I'll talk to you soon.